The border looked peaceful, but peace was always the most deceptive kind of silence. From the observation deck of Outpost Thales 9, Commander Aisha Holt watched the twin moons of the gas giant drift like pale coins through the mist. Beyond them, the wormhole shimmered, a circular wound in space, pulsing faintly with violet light. That was the Thales Gate, the only stable crossing between Terran space and the Varkesh Empire, and as of 0800 hours, by direct order of Terran Command, it was closed. Permanently. The message had been brutally short. Sealed the Thales Gate. The Empire is forbidden. The border will not reopen. Aisha replayed those words in her mind, feeling their weight settle like frost. Command's tone hadn't carried anger, only finality, the cold efficiency of people who had decided that talking was no longer worth the effort. The door hissed open behind her. "If you keep staring at it like that, ma'am," said Chief Engineer Mateo Alvarez, "it might get self-conscious and collapse on its own." Aisha didn't turn. "I'm hoping for that." Mateo stepped beside her, dark hair in disarray, a data pad under one arm, a cup of something caffeinated in the other. "Or," he continued, "I could collapse it the old-fashioned way, with duct tape, magnets, and regret." Aisha gave him a sidelong look. "You've been awake all night, haven't you?" "Define night," he said. "We're orbiting a planet that spins once every 37 hours. I operate on coffee time." Her lips twitched. "You'd better operate on genius time. Command wants a gate sealed, and we have 6 ships and a station barely rated for meteor showers." Mateo grinned. "Then we'll get creative. Humanity's only superpower." Before she could reply, the comm unit chimed. The voice of Dr. Rina Takeda filled the deck, calm but strained. "Commander, I've completed the biological scans. The Empire's probes are still active on the far side of the wormhole. They're watching. Any sign of aggression?" "Not yet. Just curiosity. The Varkesh don't understand retreat." "Neither do we," Aisha said quietly. "Not anymore." She cut the channel and turned to leave. Bridge in 5 minutes. "We need to decide how to close a hole in space before someone else does it for us." The bridge of Thales 9 was a cramped semicircle of consoles patched together from 3 different refits. The walls hummed faintly, as if the station itself was nervous. At the tactical console sat Sergeant Boomer Kowalski, a mountain of muscle and mischief, his name earned from both temperament and history. He glanced up as Aisha entered. "Morning, boss. Or whatever counts as morning out here. We got Imperial scouts dancing near the perimeter. Should I wave politely or show them the business and diplomacy?" "Hold fire," Aisha said. "Command's orders are containment, not provocation." "Copy that," Boomer said, spinning a stylus between his fingers. "Containment with enthusiasm, then." Mateo dropped into a seat beside him. "Enthusiasm gets us dead faster. I'm voting for sarcasm and improvisation." "Already your plan for everything," Aisha murmured. Dr. Takeda appeared a moment later, tablet in hand. Her lab coat bore more stains and metals, but her eyes shone with quiet intelligence. "The wormhole's energy profile is destabilizing," she said. "If we shut it down too fast, we could trigger a cascade collapse." "Translation?" Boomer asked. "Translation?" Rena said evenly. "We either find precise shutdown frequency or we rip a hole through 11 light years of space-time." Boomer whistled. "So, precision or apocalypse. My kind of odds." Aisha folded her arms. "All right. Options." Mateo leaned back, tapping his pad. "We could deploy synchronized graviton inverters along the wormhole's event perimeter. They'd reverse the flux pattern and—" "English," Boomer groaned. "It's basically a lock," Mateo said. "We twist the wormhole's energy so hard it forgets how to connect." Rena frowned. "That would take a planetary grid's worth of power." Aisha met her gaze. "Could we use the station's reactor?" "Yes," Rena said reluctantly, "if we don't mind melting half of it in the process." Boomer grinned. "Worst case, we go out with a bang. I've had worse Mondays." Aisha ignored him. "Do it. Draft the calculations. Keep me updated. We'll figure out the power problem when we have to." Mateo arched an eyebrow. That's not a plan, Commander. That's a cliff dive. Welcome to Terran Command, she said. We make gravity optional. Hours pass in the rhythm of crisis. Calculations, test firings, repairs. The Empire's ships hover at the edge of sensor range, a silent wall of silver geometry. They hadn't crossed the line. Yet, Aisha found a moment to breathe in the comms alcove. The screen flickered with a message she'd received that morning, replayed for the 100th time. By authority of Terran Command, all interstellar borders with the Galactic Empire are hereby sealed. No crossings, no contact. The border will remain closed forever. Forever. The word felt strange in human mouth, arrogant, almost divine. Humans didn't do forever. They did next. The door behind her slid open. Rena stepped in. You're thinking about the colonies, aren't you? Aisha didn't answer. They'll survive, Rena said softly. Humans always do. That's not the same as living, Aisha replied. Command wants history to stop here. I can't help feeling like we're walling off part of ourselves. Rena smiled faintly. You know the Empire thinks we're reckless children? I've heard. They're not entirely wrong, she said, but they never understood why it works. We build meaning out of chaos. We find order in failure. That's what they'll never match. Before Aisha could reply, the bridge alarms blared. Boomer's voice cut through. Commander, we got movement, big movement. They raced the bridge. The main display showed the Imperial fleet advancing, formation tight and deliberate. Ships shimmered with plasma charge. Any hail? Aisha asked. None. Boomer said grimly. They're coming to test our fence. Mateo's console lit up with red warnings. Commander, the graviton field isn't ready. We need at least another 4 hours. You got 30 minutes, Aisha said. 30 minutes? Terran Command said hold the line, she replied, voice steady. So we hold it, however we have to. Boomer cracked his knuckles. I'll start prepping the fun stuff. Rena blinked. Fun stuff. Decoys. Mines. Possibly fireworks. Aisha shot him a look, but the corner of her mouth lifted. Just don't blow up anything we still need. No promises, ma'am. Outside, the wormhole pulsed brighter, reacting to the incoming fleet. It looked almost alive, like something aware it was being hunted. Aisha watched the light twist and flare. Somewhere deep inside her, a thin thread of defiance sparked to life. They'd come out here to close a border. But if humanity was known for anything, it was refusing to stay closed for long. Commander? Mateo called. Orders. She stared at the shimmering rift and said, We make them regret crossing us. Begin the lockdown. Thales 9 is a line. And as the first wave of Imperial ships broke formation, racing toward them in eerie silence, the outpost's lights dimmed, the hum of the reactors rising like the growl of something ancient and human. The first impact rattled Thales, 9 like a tin can in a hurricane. Hull alarms shrieked, lights flickered, and a shower of sparks rained from the ceiling. Commander Aisha Holt gripped the edge of her command chair and shouted over the noise, Report. Plasma barrage non-lethal calibration, boomed Sergeant Boomer Kowalski. They're poking the fence to see if it bites. Then let's bite harder, Aisha said. Chief Engineer Mateo Alvarez swore under his breath. Not yet. We're still calibrating the graviton field. If we pulse it now, the gate can invert and turn the whole system into soup. Noted, Aisha said evenly. Boomer, defensive grid to manual. I want decoys up. Make it look like we got more guns than God. Copy that, Commander. Boomer's grin flashed like a detonation in the dark, deploying the angry beavers. Aisha blinked. The what? Mining drones, Boomer said cheerfully. Retrofit with spare thrusters, thermal charges, and attitude problems. They chew through armor and explode when they get bored. Rena Takeda, bent over the sensor console, shot him a disapproving glance. You turned survey equipment into flying bombs. Don't judge, he said. They were depressed, needed purpose. Outside, a swarm of jury-rigged drones streaked from the outpost, trailing plasma tails. The Imperial formation hesitated. trying to parse the sudden chaos of unpredictable human movement. Mateo muttered, half to himself, "Entropy loves us." Aisha's lips twitched. "Maybe that's our brand." The angry beavers hit the first wave of Imperial probes. Explosions blossomed like brief, defiant suns. The Empire's ships pulled back, their sleek geometry broken by the raw mess of human improvisation. "Good work," Aisha said. "Now, let's make sure we survive the counterattack." Rena's sensors pulse red. "Commander, new readings. They're releasing something." Aisha turned. "Define something." "Nanite storm," Rena said grimly. "Self-replicating molecular swarm. It'll eat through metal, organic matter, atmosphere seals, everything." Mateo paled. "We don't have the filters to block that." Boomer cracked his knuckles. "Then we don't block it. We fry it." "Explain," Aisha said. "EMP bursts, broadband pulses. The nastier the better," Boomer said. "We hit them with noise until they can't tell up from down." Mateo frowned. "You mean blind them with electromagnetic chaos?" "Exactly," Boomer said, delighted. "Think dubstep, but fatal." Aisha exhaled slowly. "If it buys us time, do it." Mateo and Boomer scrambled to the lower deck, arguing the whole way. Rena stayed on sensors, her eyes darting over data feeds. The storm was coming fast, a glittering haze of microscopic death. Minutes later, the speakers crackled to life. "Testing frequency," Mateo announced. Boomer insisted on picking the soundtrack. Aisha's brow furrowed. "I'm afraid to ask." Heavy metal thundered through the outpost, distorted guitars, pounding drums, and a vocalist who sounded like he was shouting defiance at the void itself. The hull vibrated with raw energy. Outside, electromagnetic bursts rippled across the station's shields, forming concentric rings of interference. The nanite cloud met the waves head-on and faltered. Rena's voice was incredulous. "It's working. The resonance is scrambling their coordination matrix." Aisha smiled despite herself. "Remind me to commend Boomer for saving us with questionable taste." Boomer's voice came over the comm, gleeful. "See, Commander? Sometimes chaos is just another form of order, ours." For a few blessed minutes, the battle paused. The Empire's advance stalled, confused by the humans' improvised offense. But the silence that followed was worse than the noise. "They're recalibrating," Rena said softly. "They'll adapt." "Then we stay unpredictable," Aisha replied. Mateo appeared back on the bridge, such streaking his uniform. "We bought maybe an hour. The graviton array's nearly ready, but we got a new problem. Power. We can't run shields, weapons, and the seal field simultaneously." "Pick two," Aisha said. "That's not how physics works." "Then rewrite physics," she said. He gave her a look somewhere between exasperation and admiration. "You know, most commanders want safety margins." "I want survival," she said. "Whatever it takes." Before he could answer, a proximity alert shrieked. A single Imperial ship was breaking formation, larger, angular, and black as obsidian. It moved with predatory grace. Rena's eyes widened. "That's a command carrier. They're sending a diplomat." Boomer snorted. "Sure, they always bring their biggest gun to talk." A transmission cut through the static. The voice was smooth, synthesized, and disturbingly calm. "Terran Command Outpost Thales 9. You violate Imperial jurisdiction, cease border interference, and surrender for negotiation." Aisha keyed to comm. "This is Commander Holt of Terran Command. You crossed our border. Negotiation ended when your fleet fired the first shot. Your resistance is illogical," the voice replied. "You lack the resources to sustain conflict. You risk annihilation." Aisha smiled thinly. "We specialize in that risk. You will not prevail." "We don't need to," she said. "We just need you to stop trying." The channel closed. The Imperial carrier began charging its main cannon. "Brace for impact," Aisha shouted. The beam struck Thales, 9 like a god's hammer. The deck pitched violently, consoles flaring with heat and ozone. Mateo slammed into the wall. Rena's tablet shattered. For a heartbeat, the station's power grid screamed. Then, miraculously, the lights steadied. Damage report. Aisha barked. Mateo coughed, wiping blood from his lip. We lost hull plating on Deck C, but the graviton array is still online. The beam overloaded half our capacitors, ironically giving us the energy we needed. Rena blinked. They powered the weapon for us. Boomer laughed breathlessly. Poetic justice. We should send them a thank you note. Aisha didn't laugh. Her mind was already moving. If we use that power surge to initialize the field, can we seal the gate before they fire again? Mateo hesitated. Maybe, but it'll be rough. One wrong frequency, and we tear space wide open. Then don't miss, she said. The crew fell into motion. Rena recalculated the energy harmonics. Mateo rerouted the power conduits. Boomer patched the ruptured coolant lines with sealant foam and bad language. The entire station vibrated under the strain. Aisha watched the wormholes glow deepen from violet to furious crimson. The Empire's fleet was regrouping for another strike. Status, she demanded. Charging sequence at 90%, Mateo said. We're close. Rena frowned at her screen. Commander, I'm detecting a secondary pulse. Imperial interference. They're trying to destabilize the field before it forms. Countermeasures? I can adjust the waveform, but we'll lose shield integrity. Aisha nodded once. Do it. The shields flickered, leaving the station exposed. The Empire's ships loomed closer, their weapons arrays igniting. Boomer exhaled. If anyone's got a good speech, now's the time. Aisha looked at her crew, brilliant, impossible, and absurdly human. We don't do speeches, she said. We do miracles. Mateo hit the final command. The station's core erupted in white light. Graviton waves rippled outward, curling around the wormhole like fingers closing a fist. The space around the gate twisted, folded, screamed. For an instant, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then the wormhole collapsed inward, silent, final. The silence after the collapse was almost holy. For the first time in hours, Outpost Thales 9 drifted without the hum of enemy sensors or the glare of plasma fire. The wormhole was gone. No more shimmering wound. No more flicker of alien light. Only darkness and the faint hum of the station's bruised systems remained. But peace rarely stayed long where humans stood. Commander Aisha Holt paced the bridge, the dim emergency lighting turning her reflection into a ghost in the viewport. Status, she demanded. Chief Engineer Mateo Alvarez leaned over his console, face lit by the blue glow of diagnostic code. The graviton field held, but the collapse wasn't clean. We got residual quantum distortion across half the grid. Meaning realities wrinkled. He gestured vaguely at the stars. We're in a pocket of bent space. Outside sensors read nothing. Inside, we're half a degree out of sync with the rest of the universe. Boomer let out a low whistle. So, we won the battle, and the prize is, what? Our own private dimension. Dr. Rena Takeda frowned. If we're phase shifted, the Empire can't find us. Neither can Command, Mateo said. We're invisible to both sides. Aisha exhaled. A victory no one can see. Perfect. They gathered in the briefing room. A circular space filled with flickering hollow displays and the faint smell of scorched metal. The mood was equal parts exhaustion and disbelief. Let's summarize, Aisha began. We sealed the wormhole, possibly broke physics, and stranded ourselves in a bubble universe. Anything I missed? Rena looked up from her tablet. Yes, the graviton field's still unstable. If it decays, this pocket could collapse, and us with it. Boomer raised a hand. Question. If space folds in on itself, what happens to us? We stop happening, Mateo said flatly. Got it, Boomer said. Just checking. Aisha rubbed her temple. Options. Rena hesitated. We could reinforce the field, stabilize the pocket, but we'd need to siphon more energy than our reactor can provide. Mateo nodded reluctantly. We could use the damaged Imperial probe, still stuck in the outer hull. Its core might have residual power. I can jury-rig a converter. Translation? Boomer asked. He can break it until it works, Rena said dryly. Exactly, Mateo said. Aisha's voice softened. Do it, whatever it takes. We're not dying here. Hours passed in mechanical symphony. Welding sparks, data streams, the rhythmic pulse of failing machinery. Thales, 9 had always been small, but now it felt like an entire world under glass. Boomer handled external repairs, tethered by a thin cable to the hull. He hummed through the comm, old Earth songs about rebellion and bad decisions. Mateo's voice guided him from inside, calm but impatient. Careful with that junction. If the polarity flips, you'll vaporize the converter. Then I'll die doing something scientific. Boomer said cheerfully. Heroic stupidity doesn't count as science. Depends who writes a report. Inside, Rena watched them work while running simulations on the field's decay. Numbers scrolled endlessly, each one another reminder that time was running out. She turned to Aisha, who stood by the viewport, watching the void twist faintly, like ripples in black glass. Commander! The distortion isn't stable. We're inside a gravitational whirlpool. It's beautiful, but it's dying. Everything beautiful dies, Aisha said softly. Our job's to make it mean something first. Rena hesitated. You really think Command wanted this? To close the border forever? Aisha didn't answer immediately. Command wanted safety. That's never what we do best. By the time Mateo returned to the bridge, his hands were shaking from fatigue and radiation exposure. He set the improvised converter on the table, an ugly, sparking fusion of alien tech and Terran wiring. Behold, he said weakly, the universe's first cross-species generator. Half imperial precision, half human chaos. It might explode. Boomer clapped him on the shoulder. If it doesn't explode, I'll be disappointed. Rena inspected the device. You think this can stabilize the pocket? It can buy us time, Mateo said. And maybe we could do more than that. Aisha raised an eyebrow. More. Mateo gestured to the star map. Look, the gate's energy isn't gone. It's just folded, compressed in subspace. If we can redirect it, we can move the wormhole, hide it somewhere unreachable. It'll end the border for good. Or tear open another one, Rena warned. Probably both, he admitted. Aisha studied the team, exhausted, reckless, brilliant. Let's assume it works. What's the cost? Mateo's silence was answer enough. Boomer spoke first. You're thinking we won't survive it. I'm saying, Mateo replied carefully, it'll need manual synchronization. Someone in the reactor core. Aisha's jaw tightened. You. He nodded. I built the system. I should finish it. No, she said. Not while I still have a ship to command. Boomer leaned back, folding his arms. I volunteer. Mateo stared. You don't even know how the system works. Exactly, Boomer said with a grin. That means it can't predict me. Aisha's expression softened despite herself. You're impossible. That's the point, he said. They've got logic. We've got lunacy. Guess which one keeps surviving? They argued, as humans always did when love and duty collided. In the end, Aisha made the call. Boomer suited up, humming again through the comm. If this works, I'm naming the new pocket Kowalski's Corner. If it doesn't, someone please delete my browser history. Mateo's voice cracked slightly. You don't have to do this. Yeah, Boomer said, but I get to... In the reactor chamber, the air shimmered with energy. The converter pulsed like a second heart, drawing power from both human and alien tech. Boomer climbed the control panel and gave a sloppy salute to the camera. Ready when you are, Commander. Aisha stood on the bridge, her hand trembling over the activation key. All right, everyone, let's rewrite the border. She pressed a command. The station roared. Light surged through every corridor, bending shadows, warping gravity. Rena's instruments went wild. Energy levels spiking beyond prediction. He's doing it, but the field's destabilizing. Boomer, Aisha shouted. Pull out. No can do. His voice was calm, even joyful. Just one last tweak. The signal cut. The bridge plunged into half-darkness. Mateo slammed the console, shouting his name, but the only reply was a steady hum of a stabilized reactor. On the main display, the star map changed. The wormhole signature was gone, shifted, folded out of known coordinates. Hidden, Rena whispered, "He did it." Aisha's throat tightened. "Yes, he did." Silence returned to Thales 9. The air smelled faintly of ozone and grief. Mateo slumped into a chair, eyes hollow. Rena stood beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. Aisha looked out into the warped void, her reflection fractured across the glass. "Transmit this to command," she said quietly. "The border is sealed. Permanently." Rena hesitated. "What about the Empire?" "They'll search," Aisha said. "They'll find nothing. Maybe one day, that's peace." Mateo looked up. "And us?" Aisha allowed a faint smile. "We adapt. It's what we do best." Outside, the void shimmered faintly, like laughter caught between stars. The void was no longer silent. It hummed, low, steady, alive. Outpost Thales, 9 floated at the edge of the uncharted, its once gleaming hull scorched and scarred, but still defiant. The wormhole was gone, folded somewhere beyond the reach of any empire. In its place hung a faint aurora of light, the afterimage of a miracle that shouldn't have worked, and yet had. Commander Aisha Holt stood at the viewport, uniform torn, hair bound in a rough braid. Her eyes reflected the faint shimmer outside like twin stars caught between exhaustion and pride. Behind her, the bridge lights flickered uncertainly, a heartbeat rhythm that mirrored the crew's survival. "Report," she said, her voice hoarse but steady. Chief Engineer Mateo Alvarez looked up from a half-dead console. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, his hands trembling as he adjusted power readings. Reactors holding steady. Gravity field stabilized at 48%. Life supports patched together with prayer and duct tape. A faint smile touched Aisha's mouth. "So, normal operation, then." "Normal," Mateo said. "If you ignore the part where we're technically outside known reality." "Details," she murmured. Across the bridge, Dr. Rena Takeda leaned over her instruments, studying the faint patterns drifting beyond the viewport. "Commander," she said, voice filled with quiet awe. "There's something out there." Aisha turned. "Imperial ships?" Rena shook her head. "No. Energy formations, cohesive but organic. I think the collapse created a life form." Mateo snorted. "Of course it did. We can't just seal a wormhole. We have to accidentally invent a species while we're at it." "Be serious," Rena said, though the corner of her mouth twitched. "These entities are drawn to electromagnetic signatures. They're curious." Aisha studied the shapes outside. Wisps of luminous matter swirled near the hull, like living constellations, watching them. "Let's make a note," she said softly. "First contact with life from the border itself." Mateo muttered, "Boomer would have tried to teach them poker." Silence followed. The air seemed to still at the mention of his name. Aisha looked away. "He made sure this place exists," she said quietly. "Let's make it worth the cost." Days blurred into one another. The crew fell into a rhythm of survival. Repair, ration, rest, repeat. Outside, the light forms lingered like patient spectators. Rena spent hours in the lab, recording their patterns. "They respond to harmonic pulses," she said one morning, excitement replacing exhaustion. "When I play low-frequency sound to the hull, they shift color." "Musical aliens?" Mateo said. "Fantastic. Maybe they can fix the plumbing next." Aisha watched the exchange with faint amusement. "If they're intelligent, they may be trying to communicate." Rena nodded. "They emerged from the same energy field that sealed the wormhole. It's possible they're part of it, echoes of the collapse. Then they're what's left of the border." Aisha said, "Living memory." Mateo frowned. "You think they understand us?" "Maybe," Aisha said. "Or maybe they're just drawn to what we are. Chaos wrapped in reason." He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. "That's a poetic way of saying we're still alive." She smiled faintly. "Poetry is how we remind ourselves that survival isn't enough." On the 10th day, the first signal came through. It was faint, distorted, but undeniably human. A narrow-band transmission buried in background static. Mateo froze at his console. "Commander, I've got something." "It's a Terran beacon, long-range carrier wave." Rena rushed over. "Command?" "Could be. Could also be our own systems echoing back through the distortion." "Play it," Aisha said. The speakers hissed, then crackled into a broken voice. "This is Terran Command Fleet Vessel Endurance. Receiving fragment from Thale Sector. Repeat, if anyone can hear this, respond." Rena gasped. "They're looking for us." Aisha's throat tightened. "Can we transmit back?" Mateo shook his head. "Signal degradation's too high. We're in an energy pocket. Standard communications can't penetrate. They'll never hear us." The silence that followed was heavy but not hopeless. Rena looked up. "Then we make them hear us another way." Aisha arched a brow. "Explain." Rena gestured to the glowing entities outside. "Those life forms interact with electromagnetic patterns. If we synchronize their resonance with our beacon, we could use them to amplify the signal. A living antenna." Mateo blinked. "That's insane." "Exactly," Rena said, "which means it's possible." Aisha smiled. "Proceed." They worked for 30 hours straight. Mateo rewired the comms array to emit harmonic frequencies. Rena fine-tuned the output to match the alien light's oscillation. Aisha coordinated, keeping the crew focused through exhaustion and doubt. When they were ready, she stood at the viewport again, staring into the endless dark. "Let's see if the universe still remembers us." "On your mark," Mateo said. "Transmit," she ordered. The station vibrated as the harmonic waves pulsed outward. The luminous beings outside shimmered, then flared bright, moving in synchronized arcs around Thales 9. The air inside hummed with resonance, a sound that felt more like emotion than noise. Mateo's console lit up. "They're amplifying it. It's working." Rena's eyes filled with light from the viewport. "They understand. They're singing with us." Aisha listened to the strange chorus reverberating through the hull. "Send the message," she said softly. "All of it." Rena nodded and pressed the key. "This is Commander Aisha Holt of Outpost Thales 9. The border is sealed. The Empire cannot cross, and neither can we. The cost was high, but humanity endures. We adapt, we survive, and we remember." The message repeated, carried on the living light that rippled outward until it disappeared into the dark. Hours later, Mateo leaned back in his chair, eyes half closed. "You think they'll get it?" "They'll get something," Aisha said, "even if it's just a myth." Rena smiled faintly. "A myth is just truth that lasts longer than memory." They sat in silence for a long time, listening to the hum of the station and the faint echoes of the alien light outside. Then, faintly, almost too faint to notice, a reply crackled through the static. "Thales 9, signal received. Hold position. We're coming." Mateo blinked. "They found us." Rena's breath caught. After all this time, Aisha smiled for the first time in days, a slow, genuine smile that carried both relief and sorrow. "Then let's make sure there's something worth finding." The next morning, she recorded one final log entry. "Thales 9, day 11. Reactor stable. Crew functional. The Empire's gone silent. Command's coming eventually. The border is closed, but maybe that's all right. Sometimes walls aren't prisons. They're promises. We build ours not to keep the galaxy out, but to keep Hope, Indiana." She paused, then added quietly, "For Sergeant Kowalski, who taught us that unpredictability is just another form of courage." Outside, the living aurora pulsed gently, as if an answer. Mateo joined her at the viewport, his reflection faint beside hers. "Think they'll ever reopen it?" he asked. Aisha shook her head. "They can't. The border's gone." "Then what happens now?" She turned toward the shimmering horizon, where the first glimmer of approaching Terran ships appeared like fireflies on the edge of the void. "Now," she said softly. "Now we build something new."